Well, for more insight into this latest derailment in Ohio, I am joined by Xuan Zhu. He is an assistant professor at the Department of Civil and Environmental Engineering at the University of Utah. Thank you so much, Professor, for joining us today.
Great pleasure to be here with you.
Well, first of all, we have seen, of course, the emotional toll for residents in East Palestine as they face uncertainties about the potential health hazards of this derailment. But there's also this economic toll for this town, including for local businesses. If you could speak about what kind of economic impact this might have, both short term and the long term.
Yeah, sure, of course. I mean, what happened is that because of this kind of derailment, especially for, let's say, the local communities, many times this would be devastating, especially considering several days of evacuation of hundreds of residents. And of course, the more of long-term issue would be, would the water quality be, would the air quality, would there be any water contamination, and also the soil, the ground contamination? That definitely needs further investigation on that. And from the perspective of the freight transportation, of course, this route will have to be shut down and run through multiple construction, remediation, and maintenance. So that will also lead to a bit busier routes from due to this derailment.
And Norfolk Southern, the railway company behind this derailment, is being held responsible for this. Getting compensated, I imagine, by the company for each individual claim, I imagine, is time consuming. So can you kind of give us an idea of what kind of process we're looking at here?
Absolutely. I believe what happened, the Norfolk Southern Company has already donated $1 million, according to the reports. And I believe there are also going to be legal terms that needs to be settled between the Department of Justice, EPA, and the state of Ohio, possibly state of Pennsylvania, with the Norfolk Southern Company.
We mentioned the liability and the cleanup. I also want to get your perspective as someone with a background in engineering. Give us a sense of the logistics of this cleanup and, rebuilding on such this large scale and the costs involved in that kind of process.
Sure. And what happened in this case, I believe the National Transportation Safety Board, they have performed the preliminary investigation, and I believe they are still keeping investigating this. We should be able to see the results in early March. But what happened, just based on their preliminary investigation, it seems to be more of a mechanical and electrical system issue, like the failure. For example, there are civilian videos showing that there are sparkling of the wheel that a few minutes or several minutes before the derailment took place. So that can be a good indication of over the wheel bearing overheat failure. And in that case, we're pretty much just talking about but usually this kind of equipment-related issue that takes about 20% of the total cost, total damage, if we're considering what happened between 2018 to 2021. And there are also track-related issues that would probably take up, will be responsible for over approximately 40% of the cost caused by the derailment. So really, at this stage, the short of label and the COVID pandemic, everything will just contribute to this, especially also with the possible contributor of climate change.
We have about a minute left or so. This derailment is particularly significant as this company is one of the largest railroads in the U.S. It serves about 22 states here in the country. What are the possible financial consequences from this derailment, given it serves such a major network with so many passengers?
Absolutely. I think there's a reference case that say the 2015 Mount Carbon derailment took place in West Virginia that burned down one house causes a large fire and basically released over 370,000 gallons of crude oil into the environment. So in that case, after 3 years, back in 2018, they achieved a settlement with the company CSX Transportation, and basically they have to compensate. They have to pay for the penalties for $1.2 million to the federal government, $1 million to the state of West Virginia, and also they are also committed to contribute $500,000 to commit to improve the surface water quality and by upgrading the local water treatment service. So I believe, but in that case, there were no issues such as the vinyl chloride release, right? So we will have to wait and see, especially the EPA's air and water quality monitoring, and if there are more evidence. Solid evidence about the correlation or the causality between the derailment and the possible health issue, then on top of that, that will definitely be much more astronomical, as you would imagine.
Yeah, it's a story we'll be covering for a while. Xuan Zhu, thank you so much, professor at the University of Utah. Thank you so much for your expertise.